Ashley, welcome. Do you want a chair to sit? We got a chair if you want.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Sorry,
Hold on,
I should
Eddie,
put down.
Eddie, be the gentleman there.
Here,
Hold the chair up.
You go like this, here. Put this over here.
Yeah,
Don't break
I
the
should probably-
furniture though.
All right,
Eddie, be
come
careful.
in. I've got it all destroyed anyway.
Yeah, Ashley, we're gonna do some Facebook Live and we've got a video too.
Okay,
Okay, good, welcome.
Okay,
Thank
look
you.
at that great smile there.
Yes.
Oh my God, wonderful. You recognize this?
Yes.
I love the book, Ashley.
Thank you so much.
I must tell you, and Nellie Quinn, when you sent it to me, she grabbed the book. She says, you know, I think I might like to read this. She loves to read.
Right.
And after about 10 pages, I said to her, how is it? She said, well, it's pretty good. But then after 20 pages, she says, you know, this is a great book. And she didn't put it down. She says, you got to read it. So I did. So what I did, actually, I did something in this book that I haven't done in years. I went through it in 2 nights.
Wow.
I haven't done that in 25 years. I'd read a chapter and then I get busy. This one grabbed me. I couldn't put it down. And I'm going to tell you, I would like to say to our listeners, this book has just got a bit about everything. And you correct me now if I'm wrong as I go along here. It's got a bit about immigration, romance, violence, politics, gang warfare, murder, religion,
Yeah.
mob activity. In other words, a very interesting book, and every man and woman will love to read it.
Thank you.
It's got all the ingredients, wouldn't you say? But first I want to ask you a bit, I'm sure a lot of people are asking about Herzog. How could a girl with the name of Herzog write a book about Ireland? Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, my family hears that a lot. My mom is Irish. As far as she knows, her family is 100% Irish. Herzog is my dad's last name. So, you know, every St. Patrick's Day we'd go down to the Statler and
Closer
we'd be,
to
you know, it would
the
be,
microphone.
it would be all, you know, O'Donnell's and McLaughlin's, and then you see our name on the board of people that had made a reservation. Everyone would be like, who's the Herzogs? But
How did they get in here?
my mom's maiden name is actually Gory, which is not a very common Irish name. It's especially not common in Cleveland because most people in Cleveland who are of Irish descent come from County Mayo, and her dad's family actually came from Wexford County near Dublin, so it's not a name you hear very often.
But there's more to that Gory, isn't there? Than just Gory. There's a Chambers in there too.
Yes, and my grandmother was a Masterson, and then my great-great-grandmother was born Mary Chambers. She became Mamie Masterson after she was married. There are a lot of Chambers in Cleveland. I get asked a lot, are you related to the people who started Chambers Funeral Home? I don't think
You could be though.
I could be. I don't think
After
we're
reading the book, I think you might be, because the Chambers that own the funeral home, they come from Newport, which is not too far from Mulranny.
Yes, and it might have been their cousins,
Yeah.
the characters in the book. It was probably relatives of theirs.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I think they're all related. Did you see the book that George Condon, the writer from the Cleveland Plain Dealer, wrote years ago called The Gills of Laughter and Tears? It's all about the nicknames on all the Irish. The Chambers has a whole column in there. There's all different.
No, I'm not familiar with
Oh,
that.
and I'll give it to you. I have it here. There was Firebrick Chambers, there was Lay Down Chambers, there was Angel Chambers. There's just a whole, and they all had names.
Yeah, well, the Irish love their nicknames.
Oh yes, well, there's just so many of the same ones. So the Chambers feature prominently in this book. The Chambers and the Mastersons, I notice.
Right. In the Chambers family, that's my main character, who is my real great-great-grandmother. She was born near the town of Roskeen, which is in County Mayo. She came from a family with 10 children. She was the oldest. She immigrated here with her 2 oldest brothers, who were 19 and 15 at the time. And that's kind of where my book begins. It actually begins with them hosting a wake in their parents' home. This is what they did. They called them America Wakes when Irish people immigrated, because they were pretty sure they were never going to see a lot of their relatives again. Fortunately, my characters actually did. Most of their siblings ended up immigrating a couple years later as they grew older. But they would hold these pretend wakes and have them lay in caskets and mourn for them and give eulogies.
I love that. It's in the first chapter.
Yes,
it's great.
that's how it opens.
Yes, wonderful. That really caught me right away because I was when I was a kid in Ireland, I went to those American wakes. Several of them, the people who died in the village, not quite as elaborate as your people. We were poor, you know.
Yeah.
We didn't have the money to buy a casket in advance.
Oh. But yeah, it was a tradition that started with the first wave of Irish immigration, and they just kind of kept it up through all the way through the 20th century.
I liked how they used the trick later on in the book, the same trick. That was good.
Yeah.
That was great. I wanted to ask you about the research for the book. How did you do it, or did you just talk to relatives? Did you get over to Mulranny at all, or?
No, I have been to Ireland, but I have not been to their hometowns. I first got the idea for writing a book about Irish immigrants based on my real ancestors' stories when I was in college, so around 2005. But I wasn't sure where to begin. I didn't know whether I should base it on, if I should tell their real story in a novel format, or if I should just kind of fictionalize it and create new characters that were based on my ancestors but not actually them. My great-uncle, Grover Masterson, was a genealogist. He actually went to Ireland. He went into churches and looked up their baptism records, death records. He did a lot of research in Cleveland, and the amount of information that he was able to uncover was just pretty astonishing. We have these books that he wrote that are just printed in, they're just bound with like a binder. They're very informal, but the amount of information that he was able to uncover, especially people who didn't keep very formal records, like you'll notice, and one thing he discovered is that a lot of their birth dates are not correct. On one record it said that Mamie Chambers, on the day of her death, one record said she would have been 57, the other put her in her 70s. So they didn't keep the best records, but they did keep very thorough baptism records. A lot of it he relied on family stories. He went into the Cleveland census from the 1800s into the 1900s, and he wrote this book. And I had heard something about one of my ancestors owning a bar in the flats. I wasn't sure which one it was or what it was called. I wasn't even sure exactly which relative it was. At first I thought it was my great-grandmother. It's actually one generation before that. So I started reading his books when I had some free time. And it took me about 2 years worth of research, not only with his genealogy books that I relied on, but also just studying immigration, what America was like at the time, what the country was going through in this Victorian period. Because the history of Cleveland at the time is also pretty fascinating. This is the Gilded Age, when Euclid Avenue, it was one of the richest cities in the world.
The Rockefellers, right?
Yes, John
The Rhodes,
Rockefeller.
The Hannahs.
The Hannahs, Andrew Carnegie. Yeah, so I mean, it was like the perfect era to set a book based in Cleveland.
Now, how close to factual is this book?
It is as close as I could get. Some things I could not, I couldn't base in fact because I didn't have enough information. But basically every character in the book is real.
Oh, that's great. I tell you, if you're listening to us, you've got to get this book now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do, because that was the main question I had for you. How real is it? And it is. This is your family. any pushback from any members of the family? Or they haven't seen it yet, have they?
No, a lot of my relatives have read it. A lot of them asked the same questions because they weren't sure. And I said, yes, it's all in Grover's book, who's my great uncle. He died a couple years ago. And but some actually had heard like bits and pieces of these stories, but they didn't know how to piece it all together. So it is fictionalized in a way. For instance, I could not find any records for how old Kate Masterson actually was.
And Kate owned the bar.
Kate owned the bar and her brother also, because women weren't supposed to be running bars at the time. He also formally put it in his name, but he was working another job, so these women actually ran the bar. I made her about 24, 25 in the book. That was around how old she would have been, but in some cases that's what I had to do.
Katie and Mamie seem to be the central characters of the book.
Yes.
They do. That Peter Sweeney, I can't make up my mind about him. You want to talk about him for a minute?
Peter Sweeney in the book, which is called Lake Erie Monsters. I haven't really said the
We
title
want
yet.
to talk about that before.
He is Mamie Chambers' fiance when she leaves Ireland. She's planning to marry him when they arrive. And a lot of times a woman's father would pay for their passage, for the ship passage over to America. But on one of the first nights they're there, he disappears. No one is really sure what happens to him. There had been warning signs beforehand that he was kind of checking out of this relationship, or didn't get along with her family.
He's getting cold feet.
Yes.
But he had the dowry already.
Yes.
From the father.
He did, and he took some of it with him, but did leave her some. And you will find out at the end of the book what actually happened.
Well, don't tell him. Don't tell him.
No.
But in the early stages of the book, I thought he was a bit of a scoundrel, but I found myself at the end feeling sorry for him. At the end of the book.
I did too.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, like.
Well, we won't tell the people the
Yeah.
ending. It's good. Now, did Mamie really work for Mark Hanna?
He did have Irish maids.
How about Bridget?
Yes, I did find some evidence that they.
That'd be
Mamie's
Mamie's aunt. Bridget was.
No, it was her mother.
Her mother. Yeah, that's right.
I did find some evidence that they worked for the Hanna family. I don't know all the details, but it doesn't seem like they were very big fans of either Mark Hanna or his activities at the Republican Party. That part is fictionalized to some degree, but if you dig into who Mark Hanna was, this was part of his character.
Bit of a scoundrel.
He is a complicated figure. He was basically one of they called him the rainmaker of the Republican Party. He put William McKinley into office. I don't know who I would compare him to today, probably like a Karl Rove or someone like that. He ended up becoming a U.S. Senator. The interesting thing about him is he never lived on Euclid Avenue, which is where all the millionaires and industrialists lived. He lived on Franklin Avenue, which is right up the street from St. Malachy and from this Irish neighborhood, and he employed women from that neighborhood. I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want to implicate.
All right, the other ones, the Rhodes family, they were.
Yes, that was Mark Hanna's father-in-law.
Father-in-law.
It was the family of his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Well, it's a
get in
great
trouble
story.
with the
I'll tell you,
modern-
we don't want to give
yeah.
it away. I want people to buy the book and read it because it is a great story. It gets a little complicated. Well, for a simple mind like mine, it's kind of complicated to keep the names straight.
Oh yeah, a lot of people told me that.
And I'm Irish myself, and I know those names. A lot of the ones you mentioned, both I'm very familiar with. But it's still, you really got to concentrate on it to keep the characters straight. But I think if people should stay with Mamie and Kate,
Yes.
they won't go. Talk to me about the Carneys. Were they real in this book?
Well, the Carneys were real people, in a real family in the neighborhood. I kind of.
Well, they're a little uppity for their time.
Yes, they were more financially well off than most of the neighborhood.
It wouldn't be the Euclid Avenue millionaires, but it's still the word.
No, they were wealthier than most of their neighbors.
Yeah.
So
And they did look
they
down
were,
on Kate a bit.
yes, because she ran a bar. She was a woman. At the time, it was not accepted for a woman to be working as a bartender, let alone owning the place. So this, got her into a lot of trouble with people in the neighborhood, people that belonged to their church. They didn't approve of it. But they soldiered on and they refused to give up this saloon. They wouldn't sell it. It was actually in the Masterson family until Mamie died in the 1930s.
And Mamie died in, it was at 37? You
Yes.
said, I think in the book you said. But look at, I want to talk about the presidential politics. The Grover and Grover Chambers came from Grover Cleveland, right?
Yes.
Named after Grover Cleveland. Why don't
Yes.
you talk about that, the relationship?
Okay, so in 1888, which is the year the book is set, the presidential campaign was Benjamin Harrison, who was the Republican, versus Grover Cleveland, who is running as the incumbent Democrat. And Mark Hanna was backing, he wasn't his chosen nominee, he wanted someone from Ohio, but he was backing Benjamin Harrison, leading the campaign against Grover Cleveland. Grover Cleveland was kind of a complicated figure as well because it came to light that he had an illegitimate son, didn't get married until much later in life.
What was that saying, Mama, where's your power? Something.
Yeah.
What was that?
It was a chant the Republicans used to taunt Grover Cleveland about his illegitimate son, which at the time, I mean, today it doesn't seem as big of a deal, but at the time it was very scandalous.
There's a lot of things that scandalous then that isn't anymore, right?
And Grover Cleveland ended up losing in 1888. There was probably a ton of vote fraud that year. Republicans were more or less paying people for their votes. But Grover Cleveland made a comeback in 1892. He's the only president to have served 2 non-consecutive terms. And Mamie's son, as well as my great uncle, who was her grandson, are both named Grover after
Really?
Grover Cleveland. So they did that kind of out of spite for Mark Hanna.
Wow.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Got go way ahead of Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's got everything in this book. And again, I encourage people, if you're listening to us, no matter where you are, supposing people over in Ireland wanted to buy this book, how could they get it?
They can go on Amazon. I believe it's available in all countries that have Amazon available.
I don't know if they use Amazon in Ireland. I haven't heard much about it.
I
over
would
there.
think they could have it.
If they have trouble getting a copy on Amazon, they can always contact me via Facebook, or you can email me. My email address is aebristow. It's bristow85@gmail.com, and I can send you a copy. I have plenty of extras from book signings and that. So I'm always happy to communicate with my readers and connect and send them a copy of the book. So.
All right. We're going to take a break here, if you don't mind, and we're going to come back, and I want to talk to you a little bit about your job at Cleveland. I was going to say Cleveland.com, at townhall.com. You write for townhall.com, right?
Yes.
Are you controversial?
I can be.
I think so. I saw a
Yes.
few of your posts. You
Right.
could be. I'd say you could be. But that's all right. All right, now stand by. We have this message coming up from O'Neill Healthcare. Townhall.com. You know who I met? Do you know Benson? What's his name?
Guy Benson?
Guy Benson.
I don't know him
I
personally.
met him a couple times.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
I met him
like
with
his,
Hugh
his
Hewitt.
writing. Yeah, I know who Hugh Hewitt is.
Hugh's on this station every morning.
Oh, really?
He's on from 6 to 9.
Okay.
And he's also on CNN, but he's on here with us. That seems to be kind of a
Yeah.
contradiction, doesn't it?
Right.
You want to be able to walk that plank.
Yeah.
But also Katie Pavlik. You know Katie?
Yes, she was.
You look a bit like her.
I look like Katie Pavlik?
Yeah, you do,
Well, that's a
actually.
compliment.
Oh,
She, I don't know if she's still an editor at Town Hall, but she started off as an editor there.
Mhm.
Now she does the 5 on Fox News.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think she still is with Town Hall, I think.
Yeah, I see her stuff on there. I'm not sure if she's editing or if she's just writing for them. But yes, I do have a part-time gig writing for townhall.com. I've done it for many years. I kind of do it on my own time when I have a topic I really want to address. I'm actually planning to write this week about the Confederate flag, which I'm sure will get some pushback.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it's a topic that I'd like to talk about. I do love history, so I kind of know some of the history behind the Confederacy that maybe people who read Town Hall don't know.
I want to give you an idea here. Do you know, you're a good writer? Why don't you write a book about the Irish in the South? Everyone writes about the Irish in the North, but there was a huge, huge amount of Irish immigrants.
In the
that-
South, yeah.
In the South.
In Savannah, Georgia.
Oh.
Yes.
Louisiana.
Louisiana
It'd be
was
huge
another big
research,
one.
I'm sure. for that.
Yes. I've thought about that. I haven't done it just because I'm not familiar with, I've been to Savannah, Georgia many times, but, because my family vacations on Hilton Head pretty regularly, but I don't know all the history, of the Irish there, and I don't like to write about things unless I feel like I've thoroughly researched them, but I think that's a good topic for a book I could write.
You probably find Michael O'Hara and Scarlett,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, people don't know that either about the South, that there are large Irish communities. New Orleans is one. It's also very Italian. Savannah, Georgia. There's communities in Florida. So that's another piece of history that a lot of people don't hear much about.
Okay. Now, well, when is this thing coming out on Town Hall? Did you write
I'm
it?
not sure.
Oh, you're working on it right now.
I'm working on it right now, so I'm
Right.
probably going to send it to them tomorrow, or so it might run on Tuesday or Wednesday this week.
Maybe we'll see you on Fox News soon.
I hope so. I
That
don't
would
know.
be great.
It's kind of hard with the pandemic.
Oh, it is.
But,
It is. You know, I find it hard to watch this TV. They're in the different rooms. The sound is terrible.
Yeah, and it's very
Is that on
disjointed.
Zoom? Is most of that on Zoom, do you think?
It could be. I know that a lot of people are doing it out of their homes. It's funny when you can see someone's cat on the
It's
couch
annoying,
behind them.
but it's annoying though.
It is. It doesn't work very well.
I watch less television than I ever have since this thing started.
I do too.
For that reason.
Yeah.
It just annoys me. 11:36 here on the Irish Show on WHK. I want you to run out right now, or go to your computer, and get this book. However you can get it, Lake Erie Monsters. Oh, I want to talk to you about. I'll play this song about the Lake Erie Monsters. How you came up with the name. I want to talk to you a bit about that.
I like to tell people I just thought it sounded cool. But no, the real reason is I did have trouble coming up with a title. I didn't want to do anything that is too similar to books that have already been written. I wanted it to stand out. I opened the book with explaining the Native American belief that there were sea monsters.
Yeah.
Great Lakes Brewing Company has even based a beer on it, Lake Erie Monster beer. It was I chose it because of the body that washes up on shore at the beginning of the book on the shores of the Cuyahoga River, and nobody really knows if it's Peter Sweeney's body or what happened to him. So I thought it was kind of an interesting way to start off the book.
So that's it. That's the reason. Now, you didn't see any monsters out there, did you?
No.
Me neither. Coming up next, we're going to hear from, I gotta play this song by the Merry Plowboys. Actually, if you ever go to Dublin, there's a pub in Dublin, call Eddie at 216-901-0945, or email Colleen at QuinnIrishRadio@yahoo.com. You can also pick us up on the internet at WHKRadio.com. WHKRadio.com, and we do have a website. Listen, Colleen, we got to get some good pictures of
Right.
of Ashley to put on our website now. We're a famous author. My goodness, the last famous author we had on here was William Butler Yeats.
Oh, wow.
That's not true.
I don't know if you knew this or not. You know Yeats, of course. His grandson lives in Avon.
Out on the
Oh,
west
really?
side out there,
Yes.
yes.
I didn't know
He's
that.
a
Why
very
would-
private guy though.
I didn't know that.
Very, very private, very private.
My son Jerry, no, in Bay Village, I think. My
Oh,
son
okay.
Jerry lives in Bay
Yeah,
Village.
that's one town over from
But
here.
you're, well, that's one city closer. Coming up, Ashley, let's talk about your new book.
Okay.
You haven't put a name in it, but what's it going to be about, do you know?
This one is based on the Irish in the Civil War. They played a pretty prominent role in the Union Army. Actually, if you've ever seen the movie Gangs of New York, you will see a scene where
Kind of violent movie.
it is, and I don't like
I
that,
don't
but
like
there's,
it.
yeah, it was hard
Was
to
Sean
watch.
Penn in that? I think he was.
He
Sean
might
Penn?
have been.
I think he was.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Or maybe it was Kennedy.
Was also in it.
Yeah.
I thought it was also kind of exaggerated. I don't know that New York was that.
Violent.
I mean, it was violent and there was poverty, but I don't know if it's to that extreme. But you will see a scene in that movie where Irish immigrants are getting off the ship, and the second they step off the ship, a Union Army recruiter says, "Here, this paper makes you a citizen, and then sign this, and now you're now a member of the Union Army." And they did it, and they accepted it, and that was kind of the Irish transition into being assimilated into American society in some ways. They gained a lot of respect for fighting in the Civil War, despite having just got here and not really having a stake in this battle. So in this new book, it's going to start off during the Civil War and kind of cover that period of Irish history. As one of my readers that bought the book is a professor at Cleveland State. She teaches immigration studies, and she said most of what we hear about the Irish in America is about the famine years and immigration wave of the 1840s and 50s. We don't hear a whole lot about the Irish during the Civil War,
That is
the Irish
true.
during the Gilded Age.
Actually, you're right. I think there's a saturation about the famine, actually.
I do too. I mean, obviously it was a very significant portion of their history, especially the number of people that immigrated here, but there were other waves of immigration that took place afterward.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you ever heard of the book To Hell or Barbados. That was about the Irish slave trade.
Yes, I would love. I have heard of it. I would love to read
I
it.
have a copy of it. Maybe I'll get it to you the next time you come in. I hope this is not your last visit to us.
No.
Come and visit with us again.
I would love to come
But
back.
I do have that. So the book is going to require a lot of research. This
it-
one you're doing right
Yes, and it has. Luckily, I enjoy the research. It doesn't feel too much like work to me. I am a stickler for historical accuracy, so I do always try to, if I'm not sure about something, I try to find the answer before on the Titanic from
now. I love you from the
Agricool.
same village.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, I agree.
Addergool.
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 Oh, you
Yes.
know what about
Yeah,
it.
good.
Yeah.
You were very well informed. All right, what did you want, Kylie?
I wanted to say that PJ McIntyre's Pat Campbell sent us an email that the PJ Summer Customer Appreciation is back starting July 4th. All drinks will be $5 and below are now $2.50 every Friday and Saturday till 10 p.m. to midnight. PJ McIntyre is at Cam's Corner. Thanks, Jerry.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think there's any better way to wrap up the program than with this beautiful song by, again, my friend Frank Patterson. It's called America the Beautiful. Here it is.
Okay. So do you have a pen to sign Jerry's book?
Yeah.
For you, thank you. Oh, this is great, Ashley.
You do another gig right here on this
I do.
radio station, don't you?
I do. I actually co-host the Todd Allen Show, which is on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. on AM 1420. We are part of FCB Radio Network, but 1420 carries our show. So if you want to tune in tonight, that would help us out a lot.
Good to know.
Yeah, that's a political show. It's like the Tom Kelly Company show coming up next here on WHK. Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you.
Good luck on the book. It's going to do great.
Thanks.